Ma'am, the recording has started.
Okay. So the conceptual question says, describe the beginning of agriculture during the Neolithic period. They want to know what kind of agriculture was practiced during the Neolithic period. So you will, I'm just answering it and you just make a note. No need to write it, but yes, you should always write with a pencil somewhere where you can have these answers. So the question is describe the beginning of agriculture during the Neolithic period. So the answer is the ancient man learned the art of sowing seeds and to grow plants. Okay. He found that by putting seeds into the soil and watering the soil, plants would grow. So soon he started producing cereal crops like wheat and barley. Okay, I repeat again, ancient man had now learned the art of sowing seeds to grow plants. He found that by putting seeds into the soil and watering the soil, plants would grow. So soon he started producing cereal crops like wheat and barley. This is your answer to the conceptual question number one. Now, coming on to the second one, discuss the nuance, the beginning of settled life for mankind. That means
Ma'am, please tell page number.
how did this life began? How did the settled life in the Neolithic period began? So this can be done by following this answer. The knowledge of agriculture brought a great change in man's life. Small groups of families made their dwellings near their fields. Man now began to lead an easy and settled life. Okay, is this much clear? This is your answer number two, the conceptual question. Now, coming on to question number three. How did the extensive use of fire help the Neolithic man? Now, there are three conceptual reasons. Okay, the reasons which made it possible that the extensive use of fire could be put on. So, the answer is the use of fire was further extended. Number one, it served the purpose of cooking food of different varieties. Number one, it served the purpose of cooking food of different varieties. Number two, man made earthen pots, and these earthen pots were heated to a certain degree to harden so as to hold food, etc. Okay, and the third reason is he made a small fire in an earthen dish, the first lamp to bring a bit of light and warmth into his dark, cold home. Okay, so these are the three reasons. You can write these answers in your own words also. First was to make cooking more delicious. Second was to heat the earthen pots, which were earlier heated in the sun, and now they were heated under the fire, and this gave them strength. The earthen pots could harden. Then the third reason is they learned to make the earthen dish where they could keep the fire and use it for light, heat, and warmth. Okay, so these are the three reasons. Now we come on to the religious beliefs. Now, the Neolithic man was still puzzled about certain natural phenomena such as thunder, lightning, earthquake, floods, etc., that brought about destruction. He therefore began to worship the sun, moon, and the stars, thunder, lightning, etc. He now began to think that there was some superpower that controlled all these forces. This was perhaps the first idea of God that came to him. So now we all know it very clearly that man, when he saw the calamities, the natural calamities, he decided, he felt scared, and so in return, he decided to worship them. And that was the time when first concept of God came into being. Okay, he started worshipping the natural phenomena. Okay, the Neolithic man worshipped ancestral spirits. Now, those who had died, the early man worshipped them. They performed a large number of rites on the occasion of death. At the time of their death, a large number of rites were performed. Okay, then they believe that the death must be provided with all the amenities of life. They used urns for keeping the bones and ashes of the dead. The urns were oval in shape, some were one-legged, and some were without any leg. Urns have been found at Maski, Salem, Hyderabad, and Karnataka. So now they even started using the preserving the ancestral body. The earthen pots, they were used as urns. Urns are the what do you call it? The kalash, the ghada. Okay, and the ashes and the bones were kept inside it. Okay, and they used it for their own purpose, and they worship the ancestors as their own. Okay, and the remains have been found in various places, such as underline Maski, Salem, Hyderabad, and Karnataka. Okay, several burial sites have been found at Mehergarh, underline Mehergarh. Burial sites, that means where the dead bodies were buried, and in Mehergarh, number of dead bodies have been found of the early man. In one example, the dead person was buried with goats, which were probably meant to serve as food in the next world for the dead. Now, in one of the dead bodies, when they were buried, there was also a skeleton of goat found there. This was done because they wanted to make sure that the person who died got the food also. Because the early man did not know that once a person is dead, they don't need food. So the goat was buried along with the dead body as a sign that they could have their food in the later generation, the next journey of death. Okay, now we come on to the ninth heading, improved tools. Now, obviously, the tools had improved drastically. Okay, earlier the stone tools were very crude, were very, blunt, and the size was huge. But gradually, they learned that if they sharpen the tools, if they polish the tools, they could use it for various other purposes. And then, apart from this, the bones and the small stones, the chippings of the stone tools were also used to make small tools like knives and scrapers. So this led to, please keep your mic closed. Now, the Neolithic man greatly improved his tools and weapons. His tools and weapons were still made of stone, but now they were far better and efficient. Please underline and remember these two words. They were far better and very efficient. Apart from hunting, man used these tools for other purposes, like supposing stone axes with wooden handles were a remarkable example of workmanship. Now, the stone axes with wooden handles could be used for chopping down trees, could be used for cutting something. So, this showed that not just having the tools for hunting, now the man was using these tools for various other tasks. Then they developed different shapes of stone and used it as axes, chisels, sickles, bow, and arrow. These tools were used in the field of agriculture for cutting and gathering crops. So there were many tools, many varieties such as axes, sickles. Sickles are जो हंसिया होती है, ठीक है, the C shaped with which you cut the grass. Okay, the sickle, then bow and arrow. All these were made. These tools were now no more just for hunting. They were also for agricultural purposes, for cutting and gathering crops. Now, the Indian Neolithic implements can be classified into 78 distinct types. Please underline Indian Neolithic implements. Implements means tools, weapons. They could be classified into 78 varieties. Okay. 41 types belong to the polished class and 37 to the unpolished class. Underline this also. Out of those 78 type of tools, 41 are polished types and 37 are unpolished types. Okay. To the polished class belong such implements as chisel. Underline the polished tools. Polished tools are those tools which are refined, which are made for a particular task, for a specific purpose. Now you know that cutting the grass, you definitely, when you see the chisel of a C-shaped tool, you will know, acha, this was only and specifically for cutting grass. So this shows that the tools were really efficient enough. They were solving the better purpose. So the tools which were polished were underlined chisels, hammers, mortars, beads, buttons, discs, etc. To the unpolished class belong arrows, knives, lancets, wedges, and mallets. Now, if you do not know any of the meanings, you can look up in the dictionary. But basically, they are just the grinding tools, the cutting tools, and mostly the unpolished ones. Okay, जो raw तरीके से उन्हें मिल गया वो उन्होंने use कर डाला. ठीक है? Now, it appears that the Neolithic man had a fine sense of color. Underline this, sense of color. That means now was the time when he was looking for beauty also. He was all in all for the lovely creations, full ways. Now, the art and drawing which he drew had colors in them. And no wonder they chose stones of different colors for their tools. Now, they made even tools of different colors. Why? They wanted choices, maybe a yellow bow and arrow, maybe an orange bow and arrow. The basic colors which were found on the stones were used, the colorful stones were used for this purpose. The man had thus made great progress during the Neolithic age. He had learned the art of cultivation, spinning and weaving, building houses, domestication of animals, etc. But all these things took thousands of years. It doesn't mean it happened in just one day. It took long period of time. And though there was a lot of change, art, there was change in the art, the spinning of the wheel, the weaving had begun, the building of houses started, domestication of animals started, extensive use of fire started. Till the thing was that it did not happen in one single day. It took years and thousands of years to come into shape. Now, this was the Neolithic age. Now, if you remember when we were talking about the Stone Age, the last age was called Chalcolithic age. You remember, children? You remember? Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Thank you for responding. I feel so happy. So now, Chalcolithic age was a very short period of time. It began from 4000 BC to 2000 BC. Now, this was the time, let me tell you just before I read it out to you, this was the time when, apart from stone, a little portion of metal was also used. Okay, the earliest metal was discovered and it was used, and that was bronze. The metal was bronze. Okay, so bronze was used along with the stones. Let us see, that is why it is called Chalcolithic age. Now, the period when man used both stone and copper tools is known as Chalcolithic. Okay, now, Chalcolithic age means stone age plus copper age. Clear? That means stone plus copper. Copper is a metal. Okay? Copper and stone was used, mixture of them was used in this Chalcolithic age. Now, this age was very short but extremely important because it was a transitional stage for man from the Stone Age to the Metal Age. Now, this was the Chalcolithic age was the time when man was gradually shifting from Stone Age to the age of metals. Okay, it lasted from 4000 BC to 2000 BC. Now, I told you this. In this period, some achievements deserve a special mention. Now, we cannot ignore what all happened in this period. And one was the discovery of metals. Obviously, Chalcolithic age is named so because of the use of metal in it in this age. So definitely, man must have discovered one of the metals, a few metals, and he must have found that metal is more durable than stone. So let us see. Now, the first metal to be discovered by man was copper. Please underline it. The first metal which was to be discovered was copper. He made use of this metal in making axes, swords, spearheads, and many other weapons. Later on, he found that copper was a soft metal and the tools made of this metal would not last for long. So he mixed copper. Now listen carefully. He mixed copper with other metals such as tin or zinc to make a new metal or alloy called bronze. Now, listen very carefully. When I was telling you in the beginning, I said Chalcolithic age was the age when man started using stone and bronze. Now, what is bronze when they are telling that the first metal was copper? So, let me tell you, copper and various other metals such as tin, such as zinc, these metals, when they were mixed and combined and heated together, they formed an alloy. What is an alloy? An alloy is a mixture of two or more metals. When two or more different metals combine together, they form an alloy. Now, this alloy was here named as bronze. Okay, so it was this that copper was not very hard metal. So they knew if they are going to bang the metal on the ground, it might break, the copper might break because it was not that hard. So what they did was they started mixing copper with tin and zinc and made an alloy. Okay, and this alloy was more durable called bronze. Okay, now then, bronze was much more hard and sturdy than copper. It was used by the Chalcolithic man for a number of purposes. Okay, it could solve a number of purposes for him. Yeah. Now, agriculture and domestication of animals. Now, we know this was happening earlier also. Agriculture was also practiced in the Neolithic age, and so was domestication. Now, let's see what happened in Chalcolithic age. The Chalcolithic age saw further advances in man's life. Though agriculture was still the chief occupation, man now cultivated more food grains than in the Neolithic age. Besides wheat and rice, he grew a variety of pulses, millets, and cotton, etc. Then, apart from this, he domesticated cows, sheep, goats, pigs, buffaloes, and even hunted deer. He seemed to have known the camel also. Ship of the desert, you know that? Now, all these animals helped man in his everyday life. So, these were the advancements. Though the agriculture was known to him since long, though he knew the domestication of animals, but in Chalcolithic age, it was further aggravated. It was further taken up to a new level. Okay, dress and ornaments. The Chalcolithic man wore ornaments and attractive clothes. Now, both men and women were fond of ornaments. What are ornaments? Jewelry that you wear. Okay. Women wore necklaces of shells, pearls, underline shells. Shells are the seashells which are found next to the water body. Pearls are moti in Hindi that you call. Okay. So they wore important jewelry made of shells and pearls, then ivory, bones, and other ornaments as well. Men wore fine and beautiful garments. They also wore necklaces and earrings. So even men decorated themselves, not just ornaments, but also with colorful variety of clothes. Then we talk of arts and crafts. Now, during this time, it was clear from the excavations that the Chalcolithic man was an expert coppersmith and a good craftsman of stone. Now, definitely, he was a good coppersmith. That means he knew how to make copper and use it in a proper way. And then the person who works on gold is called goldsmith. So the person working on copper will be called coppersmith. And plus, he knew the art of craftsman, how to craft the stones, give them a better shape, give them a decent look, give them a purposeful grip, and all that. So he also knew the art of spinning and weaving because spindle wheels have been found in Madhya Pradesh. Now, as I told you, the invention of wheel was there, and this led to the working of potter's wheel. And not only this, now it was used as spindle wheels. That means charkha bhi gala chalana aa gaya tha unhe. They knew how to chala charkha and spindle the wheels and spin out clothes, thread, and then make rough clothes for themselves. Child, I would request you to please switch off your mic, baby. Please, बच्चे, mic बंद कर लो. Time waste होता है. And he used different types of pottery. The most popular was black and red. Underline the two colors. The most popular pottery which they were using, utensils, pottery, okay, were of black and red color. It was turned on wheel and sometimes had designs painted on them. So basically, the pottery was made on wheels, the potter's wheel, and the designs were also painted on them. He built houses of mud, bricks, and thatch. That means the houses were mud and brick made and had thatched roofs. छप्पर पड़ा होता था छप्पर. Okay. Large houses have been excavated which show that families had become large by then. Now, there were big houses which show that more than 2, 3 members were living in a family. That means they had a large family and they were working on it for it. Okay? Religious beliefs. Man now came to have some fixed ideas about religion. He worshipped the sun, fire, trees, bull, and snake. Some figures of women indicate that he worshipped the mother goddess. He buried the dead in urns with offerings of tools, food, and clothes, etc., as it was in the Stone Age. So now, dear children, we know that the early man worshipped not only just the nature, not just the ancestors, but he worshipped as mother goddess. That means even the female deities were worshipped. They were given high status. They were given importance. So they also started to bury their dead bodies along with tools, along with food and clothes, so that they could lead a comfortable life after death. Is this much clear to each one of you? Please stop the
Yes, ma'am.
Harshita,
Yes,
stop the
ma'am.
recording
Yes, ma'am.
quickly.
Wait a minute. Yes, ma'am.